welcome Kendra to Sippin' Sunday, the podcast. Let our listeners know what you're sipping or what your favorite drink is.
My favorite drink, and I wish I was sipping it right now, it's coffee. I've had one cup today.
I have mine right here.
Okay. All right. See, I'm jealous. I'm ready for my next cup. I almost forgot I had the first cup, but it's because I drink home coffee.
Hmm
So Stoke brand coffee. That's what I had
And
today. Yeah.
love it. I have
Shameless plug.
regular old ShopRite brand at home coffee. I'm a one coffee a day type of person though. If I have two, like that's a crazy day for me to have two coffees.
Got it. I am typically a one coffee person, but sometimes I just want enough coffee. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, one
life
coffee will do the job.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for being here. Very excited to have you on the podcast. Finally, I know we've talked about it a lot. I was on your Instagram live, so I'm glad to
Nice. Thank
finally
you.
have you here. And the first question that I always ask everybody that comes on as well is at what age do you feel like you became an adult if you reached that age already?
All right. I would like to say that every time I thought that I became an adult, I was so wrong. So I became an adult at 18. Wrong. I became an adult when I had my daughter. Still
Okay.
kind of, yeah, but not really. So that was at 25. I think I became an adult when I bought my house at 33. Also wrong. And I would probably say that now at almost 39 ish, it's giving more adult than I've ever been. But
Okay.
I
Okay.
but wisdom has told me that I will be wrong again. So
Okay.
to answer to
Okay.
bring it full circle, I am not an adult yet.
Okay, and I like that. And this question is so unique to the person. So it's not, there's no right answer. I just love hearing what
Mm,
people say and the different things you pointed out of like why you thought or felt you were an adult. 18, that's the age they tell you you're one.
mm,
25, having a child, pretty significant. And yes, you learn new things and you navigate new challenges. And then getting your house, again, I understand that. You get new challenges, new things.
right.
But I feel like you're always learning, and this is crazy. So
Yeah, this year has been such a like self-discovery year
yeah.
that it's telling me that it's still so much more to learn. Like, what's that? What is adulthood anyway?
Yes,
And only
exactly.
being a kid.
Exactly. And so are you going to be 40 this year?
No, one more year.
Okay,
Yeah,
you
I
just
turned
turned 39?
39. I
Oh,
turned
you're
39
going
in
to.
April. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, coming up. Got it. That's very
Mm-hmm.
exciting.
Yes.
So, with that, it actually leads very well into the next question of what stage of adulting do you feel like you're at? So you don't feel like you're an adult, but you do feel like you don't feel like you're an adult. You don't feel like you reached
Right.
that age of being an adult, but you have had moments where you felt more of an adult and you know that with wisdom and time you're going to keep like leveling up. So how would you
Exactly.
summarize your stage of where you're at?
So I would summarize it by saying that this is probably the most adult that I have ever been. And I feel more secure in my adulthood, only because I do have like the reflection that there will be changes of life and I can like more prepare for them without the sheer terror or just obliviousness to like opportunities and changes and everything that I might have had before. So I'm
Yeah.
feeling good about it. So this is probably the most well-rounded adulthood that I've experienced today. And it's
Well,
really only like up until most recently.
yeah. Okay. Well, I love that for you that most recently, because I just know personally a lot of things have happened that have like shift changes and you got to
Hmm.
adapt and do different things. So I'm glad for you that you feel more of an adult. But I also appreciate the fact that you know that you're going to continue learning and growing as just you elevate to different stages of what
Right.
you want to do. And so, again, with that, you've gone through a lot of things. Just 39 years almost of living is a long time on this
Yes.
crazy earth. So,
Yes.
how do you feel like you manage all the things that life demands of you?
How do I manage? Um, I'm half a glass half full, glass fully full type of person. So
Yes.
I think it's really been my sheer optimism and my delusion, which has helped me afloat. Like just always thinking positive and just with a flat out expectation that things will work in my favor. Even when it
Yeah.
doesn't. I think that legitimately has been what has kept me afloat and kept things going. because you can't necessarily see all the time. But it's just, I think for me, it's not even a question, it's more of a given. And if
Yeah.
only but that, despite my own worst intentions, sometimes I still like, I do well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can like resonate with that as well, thinking that like you're just positive and you're like it's always going to work out because you made it this far. And yes, things are
Hmm.
annoying, things frustrate you, things might not seem like they're working out, but I do also believe that like everything always works out how it's supposed to. You might not
Right.
have taken the path that you thought you were going to take to get there, but it works out how it's
Yeah.
supposed to work out for
Yeah.
sure.
So
And talking a little bit about you and the things that you do manage. So you are
mhm.
a mom, you work, you just have your own goals, ambition, you're a person, a daughter, cousin, all of those types of things. So like how does that play a role in who you are and how you're showing up to manage your responsibilities?
So I definitely do balance a lot. I think um, me wearing so many hats is a gift because it gets me to have so many different perspectives in terms of like how like a real ecosystem, a humanitarian ecosystem flows. It's like where
Hmm.
it is everybody to consider, from the babies on down to the elders and everything in between. So does that answer your question? What was the question again?
No, you're fine. Of like, how do you manage basically all these different roles and hats that you
Right.
hold, and like, how have you navigated that? Because being a parent is challenging for one,
Hmm.
and then parenting your own parents and trying to deal with that, and you have lost your father as well. Like that's a whole
Yes.
another
Yeah.
world shifting thing, and then you just have other family members, you're a friend, running your business. That's a lot.
Yeah, I think how I manage and how I navigate it is really relying on my community. So,
Yeah.
like, I take pride in, and I'm happy that not only am I extremely resourceful, I just have like people resources like around me. So, like, even with my children, I was telling my hairstylist just yesterday as I was getting my hair cut because she was considering having a child. Well, we were just talking about parenting,
Yeah.
but I never had to worry about daycare. Like it was for me personally in
Good.
my parenting journey. I never intended on sending my children to daycare, and just thankfully, like my mother was willing to always raise her grandchildren, or always
Hmm.
willing to watch her grandchildren in the event that any of our children actually had to work. So
Yep.
that right there is just like being able to, one, save some money, but two, also make sure that they were in a safe, loving environment that I know, explicitly, because it was my parents. It was
Yeah.
primarily my mother, but that was just like an additional help and a resource. And then on the other spectrum, like you mentioned, losing my dad. My dad was definitely a life changing situation, but I had friends who had already lost their father. Like my
Hmm.
best friend, she lost her father just maybe a few days after she had her son.
Oh
And
Lord.
so she's been dealing with the loss of her father for over a decade now. And I have other friends who love their father very much. Their father was in their life, but ultimately have passed on. And so those were the people
Yeah.
that I sought firsthand to say, like, how do you navigate that? So it really is my village in all spectrums of life. I definitely, whenever I have a challenge, I definitely look to people who have
Yeah.
had that experience before, so they can impart the wisdom to me to how to make things better.
For
Not to
sure.
get too dark, but
Um,
I'm a sister, and my sister experienced a miscarriage, and I've experienced a miscarriage, but my older sister had not. But I was able to help my little sister in addition to my. I used to be a doula, so childbirth
yeah.
education for anybody who needs childbirth education and labor support. But it was the experience of having my own miscarriage and loss, which was it made me able to actually hold space for her in a unique
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
So that like when I think about being an adult and serving in all those functions, it's like you have to serve, but you have to be able to receive as well.
Yeah.
So as heartbreaking as it is to have a miscarriage or lose a child, that the glimmer of hope is that you're able to at least ease the pain just a little bit more by supporting and having the empathy to express to somebody else, at least of all in my case, my actual loved one.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
for
Well, it
sure.
seems so serious and everything, but I mean, you asked about adults, and adults are serious.
No, no, no. And that's not like what you're saying. That's not dark. And thank you very much for sharing that. I don't
Yeah.
find that topic to be dark. Like it can be difficult for people to navigate that if they have gone through that or in the future if unfortunately that happens to them. But I think that this is why it's important to me to talk to people that are willing to share certain parts of their stories because having a miscarriage is not something that people openly share. But a lot of
Mm-mm.
people do experience it and they don't know where to go or what to do or how to process it because it's something that people aren't talking about. So my whole goal of just the Adults of Queen, my business, this podcast, is for people to share stories that are their stories and nobody can take that away from
Right.
you. That is a part of your journey. So that, like you said, if somebody else is listening to this and they've experienced that, that they know there's a little bit of hope or they can reach out to you if they have a question or they want to be connected to a resource or something. That is
Yeah.
what this is for. So it could be a sad topic, it could be hard to navigate, but it's definitely not
Right.
unwelcome to speak about here.
Well, thank you. Just only it brought up even like a memory, like when I experienced my loss, I was receiving WIC, which for anybody who doesn't know, it's like a food stamp thing, but specifically for pregnant moms.
Hmm.
And so I had already experienced my loss, but I still had these stipends essentially available to use at the market. So I used them. But I remember like a cashier just like asking me a question about the pregnancy, and it's just like I can't even like what do I say in this very uncomfortable moment. And
Yeah.
it's like those type of situations that you don't even realize that you have to navigate in adulthood. Like that's when like things get really really real. And I
Yes.
was able to move on for it, but I think that's why we should talk about loss in all spectrums, you know, at all times of life, so that when those times, because everybody's going to experience it, like it's really no
Yeah.
way around it. Like the only thing is certain is death and taxes, and I think that
Taxes.
it's
Oh God. I
yeah.
started mine, but oh Lord.
Okay. Well, I got my two dependents, so I got that refund. But yeah, no. So like, it's important to talk about it, and Texas too. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And so with loss, like how have you internally tried to move forward from that and continue that process? Because yes, you reach out to people, and people do help for sure, but there are some things
Hmm.
that you have to kind of just seek internally to keep yourself pushing and motivated.
Right. So how have I done that in the face of death? It's one of those things. I'll say most recently. Um, there's what the book that says like the body keeps the score, that talks about like trauma. So
Hmm.
I'm a very neurotic person. I don't have any issues with telling people that. But that means that I know how I can overanalyze, psychoanalyze, and everything, talk
Hmm.
myself into something. I can talk myself out of something.
Hmm.
But for everything that my brain wants to do, my body is like, nah, like that's not it. So it when it comes to like such a traumatic and significant life experiences, death or loss, it's like you eventually you can't run away from it. So like whether you want to or not. I think in my case, I have learned most recently to not run away from my sadness and actually just sit. And what I found most
Yes.
useful most recently is adding additional elements of play and physical pleasure, and I do mean physical pleasure, but just really experiencing your body in as many ways as that you can to kind of like move you to the next space, or like, or
Yeah.
even just like honoring, okay, well, especially in a case of like loss, it's like, okay, well, I'm still here in the physical sense, like let's show some gratitude for that, and in all of the benefits that there is to actually living, which includes just legitimately moving your body and experiencing the senses that you had. That's a
Yeah.
luxury
Yes,
of
it
life,
is.
and
It
we shouldn't
is.
take it for granted.
No, I very much agree with that. Like gratitude every day for such small things of literally just waking up, you have running water, you have electricity, you're able to
Hmm.
buy food, even though we're complaining about the prices, you still are able
Hmm.
to buy it. You are able to get fresh air, you're able to go see your family, you're able to travel. Like those are things that everybody is not able to do. And because going back to you saying, like, we just don't always talk about hard things so much, it's like you don't know what people are experiencing. So I just
Hmm.
navigate being nice to people and doing what I can do to help them if I'm able to. And that can be something as simple as just holding the door for somebody, for letting
Yeah.
somebody in on the road. I know that some people, we get there, we get on the road, we get road rage, we get
Hmm.
annoyed, but like that small thing can really like make or break somebody's day. Because on the other side, when somebody doesn't let you in on the road, you're cursing them out, beeping the horn, and it messes
Right.
up your whole day. Like you get to your destination still talking about whatever that crazy person on the road did.
Yeah. Yeah, no, my siblings tease me about like how extroverted I am. And sometimes I almost egg it on. I'm not even gonna lie. But I am the person who's like, if I see a cute dog across the street, I'm like, I love your dog. So like because people need to hear that. I know that I've certainly
I
loved it when I
agree.
heard it. So yeah, it's just like yes, definitely just those little things, just like smiling at people, saying good morning, you know,
Yes.
if I like, I look forward to the moment when I become a millionaire because it's gonna happen.
Come on,
But I
speak
look
it into
forward,
existence.
yeah, like to be able to just like legitimately like toss money out, be able to like give it to people who need at random and everything, not for the fame or the glory or anything like that, but just being able to make somebody else's day.
Yeah.
I truly, truly looking forward to that.
Yeah, because it really is hard for people to ask for help that actually need the help
Hmm.
because they don't want to feel ashamed. They don't want somebody to say no or make them feel bad. And I think especially when it comes to like family or friends trying to ask for help, it can be hard because they know you well, so they might do things that like push your buttons and make you irritated versus like if you ask a stranger, they have no issue doing it because they don't know you. There's not all that like pent up
Right,
emotion and thoughts behind helping you, like they're just helping you.
right, right. No, that's true.
And then with resources, I think it's just hard again. If you're in a situation you've never been in, you don't even know where to go, so like
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's definitely true. You don't even know where to go. Or is it can be hard to I've had many experiences and it's very funny. I was unemployed once in my life. A few times in my life now, I'm ashamed to
another form
admit.
of loss.
Yeah, another form of loss, but I remember the first time and it was something about filling out like the unemployment paperwork that I just simply could not do. Like in my
Same.
and I'm well, like I know how to fill out forms, but it took my brother to be like, you know what, let me do this for you, and and was able to get it done. And it's like otherwise, I would have just missed out on cash that I so desperately needed. And I don't know if it was a pride thing that was making me unable to do it, but I just literally was not able to. And that's when I
Yeah.
think about back to like doula and labor support or even like postpartum support. People need support in all different phases of their
Yeah.
life. Sometimes it legitimately is like a companionship. That's why like all these co-working spaces that are coming out, that goes to show you that people need. I'm not an
Yeah.
advocate of everybody going back into the office. Like trust and believe, I'm not that.
Yeah.
But if you feel like you need the support of just like other human bodies, like you know, of humanity with you while you do an additional task, I think that that is, I think that's valuable, and we should
Yeah.
consider the fact that we are social creatures, and
Yes.
we will find a desire to rely on one another. Like like it's
Yeah.
so necessary.
No, it really is. And I think that that's a theme that constantly comes up, is community. And how do
Hmm.
you show up for people? How do you find people? How do you build the community that you want to see? How do you keep uplifting it and growing it? And especially with like a lot of business owners, it's just like, how do you come together to create something bigger, but also just sustain the future of this crazy world? Like, I just
Hmm.
can't say enough, like, how wild it feels sometimes to think about the way the world is going. And we have become a society that's like, I don't need anybody, I'm gonna make it on my own. But like, you can't, and you won't, or you'll make it to a certain point, but you're not gonna get much farther past that destination if
What's
you
that
don't
African adage? What's that? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further, you know,
go
go with
together.
some, go together. And yes, that is the way. You must go with other people. It's imperative. I've definitely tried to do many things alone, and I think that is probably when I have um, not been as beneficial to myself as I realized.
Yeah.
Like some things, like you, with many things, you definitely need a partner. Like I'll say, even with I am a single mother right now. I wasn't always a single mother, but even
Yeah.
being just a single parent in the household, that puts me at a disadvantage. And there's definitely a hole there. But similarly, and some people might like I never wanted to have just one child. I never wanted to have an only child because I
Yeah.
felt the same way. Just like that, you need built-in like family support. There are certain things
Yeah.
that you're gonna be like, I wish that I had a sibling there. So in the same way that, while I'm not rushing to have an additional parent for my children, I also recognize that I'm at a deficit right
Yeah.
now because it's
Yeah.
definitely built as a two-person structure.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, were you raised by both of your parents together in the
Yeah,
home? Okay.
yeah. Both of my parents were together until the day my dad died. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad
That's
worked. He was a car salesman or just a salesman in general. Then he worked for Department of Justice Services, so he worked with
mhm.
juvenile youth. Juvenile youth is the same thing, but ones who have been the more wayward ones
Yes.
down at baby bookings. So yeah, but my parents were always there and always together, and I think most I think that my unique upbringing, while it should not be unique, it is unique to the Black household, particularly in the 80s and 90s. Like my
Yeah.
mom was home, and so I was able to see um, a balanced family structure from that. My father wasn't a workaholic, but he
Yeah.
did work, and so it provided like a balance that
Yeah.
I think is probably sorely missed
Yeah.
in our community. Not to get no model like my Umar or Candace Owens, but yeah, like no, the Black family is important.
No, it is. And I also grew up with both of my parents in the house. They were not
Mm-hmm.
married, but I did grow up with both of my parents in a two-parent household. And it is sad how uncommon a two-parent household is. And I think how it's becoming even more common in like the co-parenting model, which is not bad. Again, everybody's
Mm-mm.
in their situations because that's your life path. That is your journey. It's your own road to walk, and like everything's gonna work out how it's supposed to work out.
Right.
There's not any there shouldn't be any negative stigma around these things that people have not created for themselves. But going back to like the theme that we keep bringing up and like all the scenarios you've shown, like you need people, and people help other people. And when you think about kids or young adults and as they're developing, what they see as they grow up is then what like they think is normal, which it
Mm-hmm.
is normal to them. But just because something is normal to you does not mean that's like the only thing in the
Right.
world. And that's a
Yeah.
hard mentality to break out of for people because you've seen what you've seen, and sometimes you don't believe anything else can be possible.
Yeah. It's when anybody I've had people ask me like about the whole two parent thing, and it's particularly with young children. There's one good memory that I always like to bring up. It sounds like it's not good. So one of the kids was sick. My eldest, my daughter was sick one night. As kids get sick, she was an infant, she was sick. And I remember her throwing up in the bed,
Oh
and
boy.
so she's a mess. The bed is a mess. If I was just there by myself, it would have been a much more harder ordeal. But all I remember is
Yeah.
like him being able to take the sheets, wrap the sheets up and deal with the sheets, and then me being able to deal with the baby at the time. And it's a fond memory for me because I'm like, this is what a two parent household, a collective like looks like. Like we're both in this together. Not much needed to be said. We both just like got
Yeah.
the work and the effort done. And we're there to be in supportive roles in support of the child that we had. Like she was
Yeah.
sick. It required more hands on, more energy. And it's probably like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning that anybody would want to be at. And I can only imagine like how the story would be said differently. Like I remember when my child was sick and it wasn't, I had to do all these things, and it took that much longer, and I lost so much
Yeah.
sleep and all this other type of stuff. And it's like, no, it wasn't like that. It was a fond memory. Kids get sick, and we were able to come together and collaborate as a team and
Yeah.
do our jobs as a mother and a father. So
Yeah, and then that shows again you're half the glass half full
Mm-hmm.
mentality you have because your child sick is 3 in the morning. You could have gone crazy and be like, I'm done with this, but you
Mm-hmm.
were able to be like, okay, this is great because I have somebody else to help me. Like we can go through this moment together. And I know that kids get sick, which I can't say that that might have been everybody's default to think that in
Me.
that scenario.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, if anybody's sick, kids gonna get sick. So I had
Yeah,
two
we
kids
know that for
separately sick
sure.
this week, and then a mother who was hungover. So it's just
Because you're an adult, okay?
so
And
I
you're
am an
out in the
adult
streets.
because I'm an adult and I'm out in the streets, and I overdid it on Thursday. So
Oh my God, today's Sunday, Lord. But yes, it's okay. It takes us a couple days to bounce back now.
yes, 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 it does. So
And that's kind of like a good transition to just like how I met you, which we just jumped in and I didn't even mention
mm,
that in the beginning or anything. But met because I moved to Baltimore. You are a Baltimore socialite influencer, if you
mm.
will, if you like that name. I know it's kind of like,
No,
eh.
I'm claiming influencing them because
Okay.
fuck this. No, can I curse? Because like no,
Yes, you
it's my intention to influence you all to have a good
Amen.
time. Okay.
Amen. So that is how we met. I think we started following each other first, probably, and then we've seen each other at
Mm-hmm.
events. We've done collabs. We're going to do stuff in the future, X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z. We're just very supportive overall of each other, which I greatly appreciate because community. Again, I'm not from Baltimore, but everybody that I have met, like in the realm of my work that I'm doing, has been super supportive, super encouraging, and definitely has helped me because I wouldn't have had a lot of opportunities without the people that I have met here in
Right.
Baltimore. People that are from here, people that aren't from here but moved here, like it's just people. And I say that all the time, but like I think that that point really needs to be driven home to people to realize like you need people
Mm-hmm.
to do that. But you are a Baltimore influencer, socialite in the streets responsibly, and
Mm-hmm.
providing experiences and curating experiences for people to see Baltimore in a different light. So, can you talk a little bit about that, and also kind of like your why? Because you're from here too, and right
Right.
now, off the top of my head, not many other people are popping up that are from here doing what you do. They might be, they probably are, but I can't think of anybody right now.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that and like why you're doing it, what you want people to know about Baltimore
Sure.
or
So
Baltimore, what the Baltimore people say.
I'm Baltimore born and raised. I've never left. Significant. I mean, I've traveled, but I've never lived anywhere else. I'm from West Baltimore, Park Heights specifically. And I highlight to say, because if you know Baltimore for one thing, we definitely do, or Black people, like we talk about people who get it in the mud or from the trenches and everything. I'm not going to suggest that I personally have lived a life of lack, but I have
Mm-hmm.
definitely been around it. And so it's not anything that is foreign to me. Much to your point, the reason why I did do it is because reflected in the media, aside from Baltimore already having its negative
Makes me
propaganda
so mad.
consistently, there has never been, from what I have seen, an amplification of the majority of the people who live here, and the majority of the people who live here who are Black people. This is a majority Black city. We're over 60% Black, and largely the majority of the households are Black single women. And I have not
Mm-hmm.
seen that reflected in any major publication in a positive light. And so that is my why. That is why I am seeking to influence everyone to understand that Black women are thriving in this city, and we belong in this city, and we should be able to love this city and appreciate it just as much as anybody else. So if
Yep.
nobody wanted to put me on a billboard, guess what? I decided to make my own billboard, with the help of the democratization of media with social media. And
Yep.
then I also fell in love with marketing and media, marketing, media, communications myself. So on the business end, I have taken my time to kind of like really, really learn and love that part.
Yeah.
Um, on the ground, and I guess like when I'm actually outside right now, I do have a happy hour. It's called the mezcal hours. It's my
Yes.
second type of drink that I like, a spirit called mezcal. And I have, well, like I said, I have the happy hours. It's called the mezcal hours. It's on Thursdays. But I just also like just love live activation events where people get outside. What truly kind of led me into community events really was the pandemic. And I would say
Yeah.
like the Charm City Maven that most people see. arrived out of that time because I am such a social person. Like not being able to go out was really like a traumatic experience for me. I never
Yeah.
had an anxiety attack before that time. And it just was the whole idea of like people being in masks, people averting their eyes, and if they did have masks on, like if you remember that time, people didn't even want to look at you, and
Yeah.
so it was really, really hard. Not being able to go anywhere was really, really hard. It did push me out into nature more, so that was a gift. But
Yeah.
other than that, I just really miss people. And much like the theme of this conversation has been, is about building community. People want to be together. So family, food, and drinks will always get people together. And
For sure.
um, and then Baltimore in general has, for me, how I fell in love with Baltimore, even as a child, is just always going to fun events like Artscape, like Afram. Like the summer came alive in the city, like going downtown in the harbor. My
Yeah.
first job was actually at the harbor. So just all of that kind of culminated to what is the Charm City Maven, meaning that I know my city like the back of my hand. I've experienced a variety of all that the city kind of has to offer. Plus, there's always new offerings, and I'm
Yeah.
excited for them. So,
Yeah.
and because I'm so excited for them, I like to share it with the people that I know. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of been my thing.
Oh, we love it. Are your
Yeah.
parents from here?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Oh, we love that.
Yeah, yeah. So even multiple generation and everything. We have like cousins and everything by way of North Carolina and South Carolina. But my
Hmm.
parents are here from here, and then at least my mom's mom is originally from Baltimore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. We do love that. And then, again, I know you work, and then you said you were a doula too, and I wanted to go back to that if I forgot.
Mhm.
So, what? Well, one, do you still do that, or did you
No.
like move out of that?
I
Okay.
moved out of that. That was my first business venture. When I had my daughter and my son naturally. So I'm one of those punchy mamas where I had my children naturally. So that means no medication.
God bless.
Right. I did have them in the hospital, but that's more of an insurance issue. I wanted to
Yeah,
do a home birth. At the time when I had my daughter, home births were actually illegal in Maryland. So it really, yeah, so it wasn't even an option back then.
Lord.
But basically, I just fell in love with the empowerment that I experienced through birthing. And so I
Gotcha.
wanted, much like what I want to do now, I wanted to share this information with other people. And the closest entryway for me to do that was doula direct labor support. But what I
Gotcha.
found is that my energy is not well suited to do direct client services support. So I'm still a huge advocate for birth work and breastfeeding and Black maternal health overall.
Okay.
But I think that I'm much more of a lobbyist or advocate, or maybe like write a book in that way, just not direct
Gotcha.
client services.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, so like I
Oh,
love it. You could definitely, anybody could ever call me up and ask me, a question about pregnancy, birth, or breastfeeding,
yeah.
but I just
I
can't
love
be there
this.
directly. Yeah.
So multifaceted individual. So you have again, you're a mom, doula experience, Black maternal health, which again is something that I feel like I've seen more of as my friends have kids, as just
Mm,
like Black women, like you said, are starting businesses. They're like building their own brands, businesses, tables for themselves. And that is often an identity that comes with being a woman, is being a mother. So then that shows up in their business and they're just advocating more for those types of rights and things. That is crazy. You even have to say rights because it's like, come on,
right.
conversation for another day. But yes, that.
Hmm.
And then you also love Baltimore, Charm City. You also love a marketing. And are there any other things that you feel like really make you you? And or that if the listeners had a question, they want to reach out to you, that would be like the thing to go to you for.
Um, those are definitely it. If we want to talk
Okay.
about like things that I'm just like also like side hobbies or side interests, I definitely am a history buff. Um, I like to talk about aliens, but we're not going to go down this route. And I'm also very much like a pet lover. So
Okay.
I was really a cat lover for the longest time, but now I'm a dog lover. And I would just say I just
Okay.
like the animals in general. So I think
Okay.
that there's something to be said about not businessifying all
Yeah.
of the things that you love. So those are things that I probably won't never try to monetize or
Yeah,
like really go out my way to necessarily talk about. Save for aliens, I do like
yeah,
talking about aliens. Um, but yeah, it's I'm just like a probably like a regular person. I'm out here,
yeah.
like I'm dating. I
Okay,
I'm definitely known for getting on a soapbox about a thing or two. So
okay,
yeah, I'll
okay.
leave it at that.
No, well, perfect.
Yeah.
But I greatly appreciate this conversation, and I'm glad I say this every time, and people who listen know. But when I talk to people that I already know, I appreciate these conversations because we get to talk like deeper than we do like in passing at events or for a
Hmm.
happy hour or even like just checking in and seeing on social media. So I really do appreciate this conversation to get to know a little bit more about you, but also just like you sharing some things to my listeners about your life and just what you've experienced and done and how they can relate and also just get some inspiration, motivation for whatever they might be going through. And if they want to come
Hmm.
visit Charm City, go to your page because she always has the stuff on there.
I do. I do. Thank you so much, Amber, for having me. So it sounds like you learned some things about me.
Yes, and I'm glad. I'm excited because again, like you already were my like my friend, but now I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I know even more, and we can talk
Yeah.
about aliens because I'm
We
interested
can.
to hear what you have to say about the
Uh,
aliens.
I have plenty to say. I'm trying. There's a documentary that's coming out that if I could do a private screening to Baltimore, that's like one of the things that I kind of want to do. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
Okay.
coming. All
And
right.
lastly, just let our listeners know where they can find you. It will also be in the show notes, but you can shout yourself out. And if you want to re-mention Mezcal Hours again, that will be great.
Yeah, sure. So you can definitely find me at the Charm City Maven. I'm on Instagram, also the charmcitymaven.com. Website may or may not be up. We'll see. But it's definitely there. I own it. If you want to see me in person for now, I am at Baja Tap Bar, which is a nice place. Amber has been there in Fells Point. It's formerly the Bond Street Social for any of the old people who might know what the space is. But every Thursday night from 8 to 11, you can come and join me for the Mezcal Hours by
And the
the
DJ
Maven.
is great.
Thank you.
Thank you.